Why do you think this time is characterized by claims to no definitive truth?
Well, I mean, I think it's all part of the picture I describe of a way of thinking which is very typical of the left hemisphere. It's certain. The left hemisphere is certain it's right, even when it's very obviously not. I mean, the most striking example of this, which I give in the book, and I sometimes mention when I'm speaking about it, is a paralysis of a limb, which is denied. So that after a right hemisphere stroke, the person may have a left arm that they simply cannot move, but they will swear that they are currently moving it and that it's absolutely fine. So if you can swear that and be absolutely immovably certain about it, then yeah, you're going to believe there are politicians victimizing children in underground tunnels. So I think that is part of the problem, is there. There's wonderful lines from Yeats's poem, The Second Coming. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are filled with a passionate intensity. And now I see around me, just that playing out, that the most simple-minded views are being violently pushed forward by people who are completely sure they know it, and therefore, of course, don't know very much, because that's a very ignorant position to take. Whereas people who can see that things are much, much more complicated than that are, being marginalized. Because it's a society now in which if you're not 100% for us, you're against us. If you want to say, hey, look, there's some truth in what you say, but there's also truth in something else I want to put to you, you'll be shouted down.
There was an amusing movie called Idiocracy that came out some years ago. Did you ever see that?
I never.
It was about this guy who was put into suspended animation as some kind of an experiment. He was supposed to be in there for a year, but something happened and he was in there for 500 years, and then he came out. And what had happened was that the sort of narrow-minded folks who tended to procreate more than the nuanced, sort of, maybe we should wait until we're 40 kind of people, had completely come to dominate society as well as the government. And this guy had been put into suspended animation because he was considered absolutely middle of the road normal. But when he came out, he was a total genius compared to everyone else. And he ended up rising to the presidency and so on. But it was an interesting movie.
It sounds great.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, I mean, when I look at the quality of leaders now and compare it with the quality of leaders in the years when I was a young man, in the 60s and 70s, in terms of their sophistication, their ability to see different points of view, their just level of education apart from anything else, and the way in which they were able to talk intelligently. And you look at the inarticulate, dogmatic bunch of people who are running things now, you just think, what the hell happened here? And it's all part of this decline into this dogmatic left hemisphere world that I'm trying to help people recognize for what it is.
Yeah, I just reread Lincoln's Gettysburg Address yesterday because a friend of mine was talking about it, and I wanted to see how much of it I could remember. But I thought, wow, if we had a politician who could write like that, who could think like that, wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air?
Yeah. No, I know. Or you look at the speeches of Burke or any of these great. I mean, Gladstone, while he was Prime Minister, was also editing Homer. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to do. Of course, times have changed, but, you just think, the thing that really strikes me is the level of, we have contempt for people in the 19th century. Oh, they were so ignorant and they were so, people worked so hard. The ordinary people in London, the working class people worked so hard. And they had one day off, which was Sunday. And they were so able to follow something deep that they were happy to stand often outside a church where a certain preacher was preaching and listen for an hour or 2 hours to theological ideas being put across. So they would sacrifice their time and go there. And now, we can hardly sit on the sofa and watch something for more than a few minutes without going, So it's worrying what's happening. Right? It's very, very worrying. The dumbing down is colossal.
Yeah.